So, welcome to the How to Get ISO 27001 Certified First Time webinar. This webinar is designed for newcomers to 27001. It's very common and it's very possible that you're in a position where you need to get certified. There's a business imperative to get this thing done, but hopefully also you'll see the value in the certification, assuming you are going to certify, and we'll talk about that. And there are a whole host of reasons why actually people do look to build an ISMS. But whatever the reason, we'll spend the next 30 or so minutes talking through a lot of the things that hopefully should be really helpful for you on your journey. Let me introduce myself. My name's Mark Graham. My job title is ISO Standards and Systems Specialist. And in this particular instance, that's exactly what my role is. So I specialize in a number of ISO standards. Obviously 27001 is information security, but I'm also very, very proficient in business continuity. That's 22301. Quality, ISO 9001. I've been working with this stuff for over 20 years. And I've been through many audits, built many management systems, audited management systems. So yeah, I like to think of myself as a bit of a subject matter expert.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm Customer and Partner Success. Today I'll be taking you through the journey to getting certified with ISO 27001.
So we will talk about the platform a little bit, but the main focus on this session is about helping you to gain clarity on what can be quite a scary prospect sometimes. Very often it's something that seems to have been pushed onto people with an imperative to build the ISMS, get the certification, quite often within a bit of a short timeline. And it can be a little bit daunting sometimes, but we'll talk about getting you through this in as easy and simple and painless way as possible. We deal in lots of different sectors, lots of companies, large or small. And additionally, there are others on there that we've not been allowed to show for confidentiality reasons. But again, let me assure you that there are companies in the utilities, finance, tech companies, education, right across the piece. The platform's suitable for all.
On the agenda, ISO 27001 is a big topic, and we're really just going to skim the surface of it today. By the end of the webinar, you'll have a much better understanding of what it takes to achieve ISO 27001 certification on your first attempt. Today we're going to cover what exactly is ISO 27001 and why do you need it? What is an ISMS and why do you need that? 4 key tips for developing your ISMS, 10 characteristics of a successful ISMS, the journey to 27001 certification, how to successfully negotiate your audits, avoiding the post-certification hangover, and getting started.
So at this stage, I'd just like to talk about what exactly 27001 is and actually what it isn't, because both points are really important. So it's best to think of ISO 27001, the standard, as it's sometimes called, as a framework to build your information security management system, your ISMS. The ISMS itself, we'll talk about what that looks like further on in the webinar. But ISO 27001 is globally recognized, 30,000 plus certifications of different organizations. It's the fastest growing ISO standard that's out there. So it's important, it's big. Conversely, it's important to note that it's not about security per se. It's about information security, and that's information in all its forms, information however it lives in your business. And all businesses are different in that respect. It's also not an IT initiative, so it's not something that you just give to IT and say, there you go, sort that out, please. In fact, in many ways, it's the very opposite of that. It's something that's incumbent in all your business, and it just so happens that some of the things that you will need to manage this stuff is the responsibility of the IT department. But please don't think of it as an IT standard, because it resolutely isn't. It also isn't a fit and forget initiative. We really don't want you to build your ISMS, go to the time and trouble of getting it certified, and then just let it lay dormant for a period of time. Very often the post certification hangover that we talked about earlier, businesses go into this with the best of intentions, and before you know it, 11 months have gone by and it's time for the next audit, and there's a little bit of a panic goes on. So we really don't want that. We want it to be embedded into BAU, business as usual. And in fact, actually, there's a clause in the standard that mandates that that's done. So it's something that the audit could actually check come audit time. Lastly, and importantly, doing this thing is no guarantee that you will not have any kind of cyber incident or information security incident. Certainly there's controls to help to prevent and to manage all that kind of thing, but there are no guarantees in this world. Certainly this stuff will help, but as I said, no guarantees.
So why do you need an ISMS? Simply, without one, you won't achieve ISO 27001. It's an essential part of the compliance and certification process. It describes and demonstrates your organization's approach to information security. It defines how your people, policies, controls, and systems identify and respond to opportunities or threats relating to your organization's information and any related assets. The only way of showing you're managing your information security properly is by having your information security management system in place.
So we come to the part where we're going to talk about what actually an ISMS looks like. So if you look at the picture, we've got various components on there. So I'll start at the systems and tools part of the diagram. So the ISMS is a series of systems, tools, as it says, but also if we look at the next part of the diagram going round, actionable policies and controls. So the standard doesn't talk about mandatory documents, but to implement the requirements of the standard, essentially there's no other way of doing this other than building procedures, processes, work instructions, whatever your organization chooses to call them. And the product, our product has got all these kinds of frameworks built in. Supply chain management is the next segment, and that's really important, because whilst you can't include your suppliers or your supply chain in your ISO certification, and please use the word certification and not accreditation, whilst you can't include your suppliers, they're really important. There'll be no doubt a key part of the way your business functions. There will be some key dependencies there, and therefore, in the eyes of ISO 27001, they're really, really important. So we're building our ISMS. Clearly, to do that, we're going to need some resource, both at the implementation and the ongoing management stages. Resources, ISO 27001 has got a clause called resources, but simply put, resources are people, places, things, and money, and generally you need those for whatever activities your business is running. While we're building an ISMS, it's really important to keep staff aware of what's going on, keep them engaged. Certain people in your business will be responsible for various parts of your ISMS going forward. And there are parts of the standard that talk about requirements in that area. We've now built our ISMS. We're good to go. We can choose to certify or not as we see fit. And certification process You choose a certification body, and there are a series of audits, and we'll talk about that further on in the webinar.
4 tips for developing your ISMS. Don't invest in a traditional ISO 27001 gap analysis. In our experience, doing a gap analysis is lengthy, and it only results in you knowing what you already knew, where your gaps are. Don't rely on a document toolkit and a shared drive folder. Use an ISMS platform which creates a living, breathing ISMS. Don't divert valuable resources into building your ISMS from the ground up. We offer adopt, adapt, add content to help give you a head start into what's required to documenting your ISMS. At the end of the day, an ISMS is for life, and you need to show that you live it. Something that the auditor will want to see is that you are doing what you say you're doing. By building your ISMS, you'll be able to demonstrate that you are indeed living and breathing your ISMS. So here we have a typical journey to compliance and certification. We would say on average it takes organisations 12 to 18 months with an invested time of 120 days. In saying this, depending on the size of your organisation and the scope of your ISMS, it may take you longer. Now if we look at that same journey to compliance and certification, but this time using ISMS.online, you'll see it's far simpler. We start with ISMS.online in the platform, and we have virtual coach and the assured results method to help you get started. We also offer support wraps to help with confidence, capability, capacity and discipline. For the management requirements, we've given you the adopt, adapt, add content to help you with pre-configured practical clauses, documentations and actionable tools and frameworks. We help you identify assets and classify them, and we also support your risk discovery exercise. We have a number of pre-built work areas to help you identify things like corrective actions and improvements. Moving on to your policies and controls, you can use that adopt, adapt, add content to help fill any gaps that your organisation has. And then you can make improvements and prioritise change within your organisation. Operationally, we help you launch your ISMS. We help you conduct audits internally. We guide you through your stage 1 and stage 2 audit. And then we help you with the ongoing management of your ISMS. At the end of the day, it's important that you live and breathe your ISMS. And with our platform, we can help you do this in a very fast and effective way.
2 factors that are really, really important that the standard talks about: leadership engagement and business engagement. And broadly, if you keep those at the back of your mind when you're building and operating your ISMS, then you won't go too far wrong. Deeper into the ISMS, you see the 10 characteristics listed, and I'm not going to read them out, but I will pick on 1 or 2 and just talk about them. So in the real world, we've already said that the ISMS is a system. It's a series of different things. And what you really want in the ideal world is to find all these systems, processes, documents really easily. So bringing them all together in one place is really, really important. You will gain so much from doing that. So that's point 1 on the slide. Keeping it easy to use, keeping it all easily accessible, all really, really important. And you can see as you read through them that you will see various angles on that, if you like. So I'm just going to jump to 8, which is the collaboration point. And most organizations have one person that manages the ISMS. In reality, various subsystems, sub-processes, procedures, policies are going to be accountable to different departments and different people. And so the collaboration aspect of this is really important. If you give it to one person to do, it's likely to kind of overwhelm them, and that's maybe not the best way of doing things. I just want to pick lastly on point 10, affordable. There is a lot of work involved in building an ISMS potentially, and before you know it, the costs and the time and the effort and the energy involved can run away with itself. So keeping a lid on the costs is usually quite high up the business's agenda.
So, compliance or certification. It's important that ahead of starting this project you make an informed choice. Whether it's compliance, whether you wish to be certified or self-certified, whether you want to be independently certified, or whether you want to use a UCAS certification body. Depending on your driver and depending on the appetite within your organisation, depends on which route you take here. We recommend using a UCAS certification body, and you can find information on the approved UCAS certification bodies on their website.
So we're on our journey to build our ISMS. We're doing quite well. Some of the things that we see time and time again are issues around what you can see on the screen. Confidence, it's quite new to a lot of people, and there's a learning curve, and most people manage to get through it over time, but they're never really fully confident that they've done the right things in the right way. Capability and capacity, there are similar arguments around there. Most people can find a way through it, but they're never really sure if they've done a top job, a middling job, or a poor job. And these uncertainties, if you like, actually prey quite a lot on people because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. And the last one is, this is the discipline to get through this. Usually there are time imperatives, maybe financial imperatives, where a customer or a contract is dependent on the certification. So there's a bit of pressure there, and we need the discipline to drive this through, usually to within a preset timescale. And a lot of companies see various issues. Clearly, the levels of confidence and the other parameters that we're talking about there are going to be different in every organization. And actually, what the tool has got, what our product has got, is a methodology called ARM. You can see that on the screen. So that is our preferred methodology for getting you through this. The product has got an optional virtual coach, which is a series of videos and information and other resources that you can draw on to, again, help you through the process. The last point on the slide is around essentially people. So if you need some people, some skill, some resource to do this, then we are quite happy to provide that either ourselves or through our partner network. Your ISMS, once, in fact, prior to it being certified, will be subject to audits. So we're assuming that you're going to go for certification here. So to do that, all the UCAS certification bodies follow the same process. So the first one, a so-called stage 1 audit, it looks at all the mandatory requirements of ISO 27001. So it looks to see that your ISMS has addressed every one of those. So it's a functional check, if you like. It's kind of a mechanical check that everything is there. And the auditor will gently test management commitment. So they're looking to see that the management are behind this and engaged with it. And that's usually around about a day. And it can be done remotely, or it can be done on site. Assuming you get through that audit and you will. The second audit, this is the big audit, the so-called stage 2. And this usually takes place not more than 6 months, but it's usually about 3 months after the stage 1 audit. And after the stage 1 audit, your ISMS should be running inside your business. So you should be doing all the things that you've said that your ISMS says that you're going to do, such as logging for security incidents and following up on them and doing internal audits and having management system reviews. And when you do that, you will generate records and information, and that's what's looked at the stage 2, as well as a bit of a revisit on the components that were looked at stage 1. So the auditor at the stage 2 is looking to see that the ISMS is embedded in the business, fits what your business needs, and is actually working. Auditors actually audit for compliance. They don't look for non-conformances. It just so happens occasionally they come out. And one other thing worth noting on that is these days, most auditors will document and look for positive aspects as well. So it's important to note that the more and more audits are becoming a positive experience, which is maybe not how things were some time ago. So in conclusion, stage 1 audit, you don't pass or fail. The auditor will push a recommendation to the certification body. So what most people would call a pass is a recommendation for certification technically. And the last bullet point is to make the point that auditors are not infallible. They don't know everything. They certainly don't know the ins and outs of your business or why you've done things. So it's perfectly legitimate to gently question auditors' findings and maybe push back a little bit on if you don't quite agree with what they're saying. Audits are not and should not be a scary experience. The auditor, the external auditor, they're actually looking for conformance. They're looking for evidence that your ISMS is functioning as you've said it is going to. It just so happens that sometimes they find that it isn't quite doing that, and that will just be noted in the audit report. Generally, the finding will be run back with the auditee, whoever's in the audit, with the auditor, the external auditor. And generally, auditors these days are friendly. They're helpful. They're looking to see that you understand what you've written in your ISMS, that it's working. And they can see evidence that it's working. And as we've said earlier, this is not fit and forget. What we want to do is not only prove that it's working, but that we're looking to improve it as time goes on and adapt and change it as the business changes and as the business environment changes. It's important to note that auditors can't cross the consultancy line. They will be helpful. They will make suggestions. They will have no doubt seen businesses and ISMSs like yours before, and they will do all they can to help, but they absolutely cannot act as a consultant. As the audit plays out, what is normal practice is the auditor will run any findings past the auditee that's present, or auditees, plural, and there will be a consensus view that yes, this is a fair and valid finding. And that's the way we, the auditor, ensures that there are no surprises in the final audit report. So the final audit report, it might take a day or two to actually receive the report, but there will be nothing in that report that you didn't already know about that wasn't talked through verbally at audit time. So that's how it works. And generally, it's a very positive experience these days. I want to make some points here about what we've called the certification hangover. Most businesses, when they get this impetus to get the ISMS built and certified, the thing rolls and it takes on a life of its own, and we get certification and everybody's very happy and we have a little party. The temptation, as we've already said, is for this then to lie fallow for a period of time. And then when recertification comes along, we've lost a little bit of that impetus and energy, and maybe more non-conformances are coming out. So we've really, really got a plan for that and to attack it head on. So integrate the ISMS into business as usual, right across the business. Make it the culture that people engage and not disengage or hide. And if you just do little and often, then this is going to deliver much more results. I've worked in businesses where gaining ISO certification has seen a tangible improvement in the bottom line and in the business culture. This is a really useful management tool for running your business and gaining bottom line results. Take everybody on the journey with you. You have to do that. The ISO standard mandates that. So you might as well do it with a smile on your face and just embrace it. So certainly time and efficiency are enemies in building your ISMS, and the platform can help you with that. It does it step by step. It breaks it down into nice, easy, simple, manageable steps. Certification to 27,001 first time is clearly the goal, and the platform has got a proven record in that regard. And we've talked about the pitfalls, and there are potentially many along the way to gaining the certification. And we've built in coping strategies and features into the platform that engineer out those pitfalls. So there's real value to be gained from that. So we've gained our ISO certification. We're very happy. What's it going to give us? Well, it's going to give customers, stakeholders, a degree of certainty and assurance. It's going to help us with our brand. It's going to help us enter new markets and gain credibility in the marketplace. Because it's a universal worldwide standard, the benefits of that are there for all to see.
So, in summary, ISO 27001 is a business management standard. Its aim is to identify and protect business information and associated assets in all of their forms. The objective: appropriately manage your risks to an acceptable level. Your ISMS must work for your organisation and fit its culture. You must have documented your ISMS arrangements for the main clause and requirements in 4.1 to 10.2. And you must have documented arrangements for all 114 Annex A controls, or exclude those controls that aren't applicable. And as we've said throughout this webinar, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Dive in, get momentum, and ISMS.online will help you negotiate the hazards along the way to your certification. So we hope this webinar has given you a sense of confidence about taking your next steps towards ISO 27001 certification. It's such a big topic, and we really have only skimmed the surface with this conversation. If you've still got questions, we're always happy to help. You can drop us a line at inquiries@ISMS.online. But the best way to understand how to build and maintain an ISO 27001 compliant ISMS is through visualization. And the best way to visualize it is by viewing it through one of our demos. They're free and there's no obligation, so let us help you give the confidence you need to get started.